John, you can see my screen, right? Full screen?
I can, Dave. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks. Welcome, everyone, from wherever you're joining us from. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. But we're very thankful to have you with us to join us in this global webinar event. We're going to give people just another minute or so to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. We have a large audience today, so we're very thankful for that. So just sit tight, and we'll be with you in just a minute. While we're waiting, I hope you all have been seeing the notices for our upcoming IWCS Cable and Connectivity Industry Forum taking place in Providence, Rhode Island in October. And we're about a month away of the deadline for receiving abstracts, technical abstracts. So we hope you and your company will be wanting to share your excellent work and your contributions to the innovative world of cable and connectivity, and we'll be willing to present at the event in October. So consider submitting your abstracts. All right. Again, there may be a few more folks joining us here as we go along, but let's go ahead and get started. And again, welcome to today's IWCS webinar event. My name is Dave Cadu, and I am honored to be the CEO of IWCS, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. A few housekeeping items. First of all, please note that as an attendee, you are part of a larger audience, and as such, you will remain in listen-only mode. And also, this event is being recorded for rebroadcast, so you and your colleagues can come back and watch it again in the future on our IWCS website. Of course, we encourage you to submit any questions that you have. Put them in writing using the chat panel on the right of your screen. Just click the chat button wherever it is, top, bottom, wherever. And after typing in your questions in the space at the bottom, please hit the send button, and your questions will be addressed, time permitting, at the end of the presentation. Our IWCS webinar series event today is hosted by Teknor Apex, and today we welcome John Mello, who is the Global Marketing Manager for Wire and Cable Compounds at Teknor Apex. He resides in Rhode Island, USA. And John will be presenting his paper on the reimagining fiber optic cables with material innovation. This is a very timely topic. And again, we appreciate John sharing his perspectives and how materials can be part of the solution and the innovations going forward. John is the Global Marketing Manager for Wire and Cable Product Compounds at Teknor. He has more than 20 years of experience in sales, management, product development, and business development for the wire and cable market. John is an active participant in a variety of wire and cable industry organizations, including the IWCS Technical Committee, and is also a current member of the Wire Association International and a board member of the New England chapter of WAI. So, John, welcome to today's webinar. We thank you sincerely for presenting today. So carry on.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Or good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. We're delighted that you could be here and attend today. What we've done is we put together a presentation. We'd like to discuss some of the trends that we're seeing in the fiber optic market space. We're planning to speak a little bit to the trends and how those trends relate to opportunities for some of the current material technology we have. We'll also look at maybe some new products we anticipate bringing to the market to address some of the growing trends that are taking place in the market space today. That's an exciting time to be in fiber optics. First, maybe just a little bit about me. Dave did a very nice job in introduction. Again, I'm John Mello. I'm the global market manager for wiring cable at Teknor Apex company. I've been with Teknor a long time, over 2 decades. I've been in a number of roles, worn a number of different hats, from sales, business and product development, sales management, and now most recently as the global market manager for wiring cable with Teknor. Thought maybe we'd start off just a quick little overview of the agenda. Planning to give a quick introduction to who Teknor Apex company is, some of our capabilities and what we can do. I figured then we would jump into the trends. We'll look at some trends that are going on in the fiber market space. I'll spend a little time talking about data centers and materials, specifically geared towards data center, a real exciting area of growth. And then playing into the data center discussion, thought maybe we'd spend a little time looking at some cooling technologies. That's a really exciting emerging trend in data centers. From there, figured we spend a little bit and talk about some compounds and some solutions that we have available. Figured we will look at a small sampling of some of our workhorse fiber optic cable materials that we have in the market. Definitely want to talk about what's coming soon and what's coming next. A little some of the products we're looking to bring to market over the next 12 months or so. What would any presentation be these days with at least not acknowledging the regulatory environment and regulations that we all love so much and have to deal with? And then I figured we would wrap up and move into a Q&A. So I just want to take a moment, give you a quick overview of who Teknor Apex is. Briefly, Teknor Apex is a privately owned family company. It's founded in 1924. I can tell you that it is a family company in every sense of the word. Very much have enjoyed my 2+ decades here. We are going to be celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. This is something that we're very proud of. Not very many companies can make it to 100 years in business, and we're looking forward to celebrating that as a team. We operate 13 manufacturing facilities globally. We have plants and facilities in the US. We have some in Germany, Belgium, China, and Singapore. Currently employ over 2,000 people globally. I can tell you that this is a company that is committed to innovation. We have established 3 application development centers of excellence around the globe. We have one in the US, we have one in China, and we have one in Germany. And really the point of this is, we want to continue to bring innovative products and solutions to the market that we service, and the company's made a real commitment to that. We have a number of different product offerings, and we have a number of different product lines, but we really believe that our strength comes from being one Teknor Apex. It's being able to deliver solutions to the market across a variety of different compounds. And the goal there is, regardless of what your needs are, we want to have a material that meets those needs. Teknor is broken into 2 value chains. First is the vinyl value chain, which has our vinyl compounds. Some of you may be familiar with our Apex PVCs or our FireGuard plenums, our Flexalloy vinyl elastomers, or our HalGuard, our halogen-free flame retardant product line. Also within this value chain, our chemicals group is part of the value chain. Chemicals group produces plasticizers and lubricants. And finally, in the vinyl value chain is our garden hose group. Teknor Apex manufactures garden hoses. It is our one and only consumer product, and is sold through big box stores. Our other value chain is our engineered performance elastomer value chain. In this value chain resides our thermoplastic elastomer products, TPVs, TPOs, TPS compounds. Also in this value chain is our engineered thermoplastics group, offering a wide range of polyamides, And lastly, our color division, which serves to provide color and functional master batches to the market. Just a little history of Teknor Apex in wire and cable. This is Teknor's original marketplace. This is how Teknor got started in the, obviously 1946. We began to supply rubber to the wire and cable industry in New England. There was a time where it was very large industry here in New England. 1949, that transitioned from rubber into vinyl compounds, which we still do today. Many years later, we were able to launch our FireGuard, low smoke plenum PVC. Shortly after that, we followed up with Flexalloy, our PVC elastomer product line. More recently, in 2010, launched our HalGuard, low smoke, halogen-free flame retardant product line, which we'll talk a little bit more about today. And as I sit here today, we have over 3,000 active wire and cable compounds. And as you'll see later, we have more coming to add to that. We like to think that, whatever the application, whatever the requirement, we have a product that will fit. And if we don't, excuse me, we'll make one. I figured we move into trends. Before we do that, why is a compound supplier looking at trends in the fiber optic cable market? That question has been asked of me before. And really, it speaks to our approach on the markets in the sense that, we see ourselves as more than a company that just makes compounds or a company that just puts pellets in a box. Really our goal is to understand the trends and what's needed in the market. Seeing the market from our customer's perspective or our customer's perspective is, we think that's really important. Being able to understand the trends that are driving the market growth, especially in the key markets that we service, like fiber optics, really allows us to innovate new products and new technologies. And, we're really trying to build on our reputation as a solutions provider. In the next few slides, we'll talk about what some of the trends we're seeing that are really driving robust growth in fiber market segment. It's a really exciting time to be involved in fiber. We'll touch on a few of those things. Can't touch on them all, so we just kind of picked a few we thought would make for a good discussion. So we see several trends really fueling the growth in the fiber market. Each of these are contributing to the increased demand for, a robust communications infrastructure, and that really plays into fiber strength. Very first one that really jumps out to us is, it's the surging data consumption. We live in a data-driven world. The drive and rise in bandwidth-hungry technologies is really playing a role here. Some of those technologies, well, spend a moment chatting about 5G, and really now it's 5G and beyond. We're all very familiar with what 5G is just as consumers. Next generation of mobile networks absolutely requires substantial fiber backbone infrastructure to support its ultra-fast speeds and low latencies. Some of the other things we see playing into surging data consumption, artificial intelligence. AI is here. It's in its infancy, but it's here, and it's here to stay. AI computations and data transfer rates rely highly on high bandwidth connections. This makes fiber optic a preferred choice. One of the other things we see driving surging data consumption, virtual reality and augmented reality. Again, another newer technology in its infancy, but it's not going anywhere. It's going to be with us. AR and VR experiences demand real-time data transmission, it necessitating, superior speed and capacity of fiber. Really plays into a lot of strengths of fiber. Last thing we're seeing from a, surging data capacity standpoint is the Internet of Things and the industrial Internet of Things. This is something that we've all are familiar with and have heard about, but, there are billions of interconnected devices in the world today, and that number grows every day. The vast amount of data generated requires a reliable, high-capacity connectivity provided by fiber. One of the second big trends that we're seeing driving demand for fiber optics is cloud infrastructure expansion. We're beginning to see cloud hyperscaling. The tech giants that we all know, the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsoft, the Metas, they all rely on a massive fiber optic network to connect their data centers and handle ever-increasing cloud traffic. To that end, we're seeing increasing cloud adaptation. Businesses and individuals are migrating to cloud-based services. They're doing this for data storage, software, and applications. This will further boost the demand for fiber connectivity. And thirdly, we're seeing evolving consumer and business needs. So what does that mean? What are we seeing here in evolving consumer and business needs? Well, one, it's high-speed broadband demand. Consumers and business require ever higher internet speeds for streaming, for gaming, and remote work. This is leading towards a big shift towards fiber broadband. As we just mentioned, the remote work and work from home, what began in the pandemic is continuing. So the rise in remote work has intensified the need for reliable and high bandwidth internet connections. We're also starting to see more and more, smart homes and smart buildings. This is a really exciting technology. Be very curious. We're going to watch this very closely. But the growing adaptation of smart technologies in homes and buildings we see is creating additional demands for fiber optics. Lastly, in the smart homes and buildings, we're starting to get more and more requests for sustainable solutions, more environmentally friendly materials and manufacturing processes. We'll speak to that in some later slides, but that's starting to become, we're starting to see that more and more, specifically tied into fiber. So as we're looking at the trends and we're looking what does this mean and where is all this going? A lot of our investigation and a lot of what we're seeing, it's leading us into data centers. We keep coming across data centers and growth in data centers and demand for fiber optics in data centers specifically. We know worldwide data volume is surging rapidly. People are seeking entertainment and new ways to connect. The explosive demand in data has really cranked up the pressure on data center infrastructures. Huge amounts of data must be transferred quickly, has to be transferred securely and reliably, and fiber optic cabling is going to play a major role in data center infrastructure. You see we have the slides here, just looking at fiber optics and looking at data center growth, some information that we have found, the size of the markets and the growth rates are just, it's very hard to ignore when you look at those growth rates over the next decade. So, we're really excited about where this market is headed and continue to be very positive about it. So how does some of this translate to materials, which is what we do day in and day out? I figured we'd spend a minute looking at what we're seeing in regards to material requirements to support these trends. Just a couple slides here to talk about that. First one that jumps off the page at us is the requirements and the applications for jetted fiber or blown fiber. And yes, is blown fiber being used in data centers? Yes, it is. It's becoming increasingly common in modern data centers to use jetted or blown fiber. There's a couple reasons for that. One is fast deployment. Obviously, jetted fiber installation is much quicker and much less disrupted than the traditional cable pulling methods. There is a degree of cost effectiveness to jetted fiber. It reduces installation time and material costs can make it more economical, especially when you're looking at large-scale deployments. There's a degree of flexibility that also comes with jetted fiber. This is easily scalable to accommodate future needs by providing more fibers, without major infrastructure changes. One of the things that jumps out in the advantages of jetted fiber is space efficiency. And this is really a key selling point that we see. Space in real estate is such a critical matter in data centers. The microducts occupy less space than traditional conduits. And really that's giving space and real estate back to the data centers, which is so valuable to them. Jetted fibers also provide a degree of future proofing in a sense. It supports future bandwidth requirements and higher fiber counts within existing microducts. And lastly, one of the big things we see as a selling point on blown and jetted fiber, really reduces cable stress. We all know fiber optic cables are delicate, sensitive, very sensitive to excessive tension or bending during installation. Cable pulling, especially over long distances, can really subject the cables to high level of stress and causing potential damage. We're also seeing renewed interest in halogen-free, specifically around the data center market. We have more activity going on in halogen-free, in fiber for data center than we do any other market at this time. We'll speak to some of that in some later slides. I really wanted to play a video here on fiber jetting to show the process. However, I'm a little technically challenged and I didn't want to run the risk of trying to play a video and have something go wrong. But if you wanted to see more or learn more about jetted fiber, just reach out to me. If you want to see a video, just reach out to me outside of today and I can send that to you. Really like to do it, but I figured the whole presentation would crash if I did it. Some additional trends that we're seeing regarding materials and data centers, it's, requirements for increased flame retardancy. And this is really due to densification in high fiber count cables. And this really presents a number of challenges. We always have to balance the need for flame retardancy in smoke. And you have to balance that with suitable flex modulus to resist kinking and bending, while also offering materials that have a low coefficient of friction. So the cable will slide smoothly, whether it's in a microduct, a conduit, or a pathway, to minimize that abrasion in wear. So, that's something that we do every day, working on what is the right balance of properties to be able to find those solutions for our customers, specifically on fiber. So one of the key challenges that data centers face is cooling, right? What's the old saying? With great power comes great responsibility. In the case of data centers, that responsibility is to maintain adequate cooling for data center equipment. Data centers' power demands have never been greater than they are today. Saw a statistic that back in the 1990s, an entire rack might consume about 5 kilowatts on average. Today, a single server can draw twice that amount easily. We're starting to see projections that anticipate racks consuming more than 80 kilowatts on average. And they're anticipating this to hit sometime in the next, 1 to 2 years. That's a significant jump in a 30, 40-year time frame on just the power load. And really where that challenge comes in is, how do you keep these data centers cooled, right? The most advanced air cooling methods, are challenged by the ever-increasing power consumption and heat productions. So clearly, there's a different solution that's needed on data center. And this is where immersion cooling comes into play. About a year ago, this wasn't even on our radar screen. The growth in data centers wasn't on our radar. Immersion cooling was especially not on our radar. I can tell you it's front and center today. We spend an awful lot of time focused on this market and trying to drive solutions there. So what is it? What's immersion cooling? Quickly, immersion cooling is a method of submerging computer components or full servers in a thermally but not electrically conductive material. Literally sinking the electronic components in a bath. There's a lot of advantages to it, for sure. Immersion cooling allows for much greater density of processing capabilities by removing active cooling components like fans and heat sinks. And that really solves a major issue in data centers, whether it's scale up or new data centers or even hyperscale data centers. It's a real estate issue. And the more processing capabilities they can pack inside of a footprint, the better it is. Immersion cooling allows them to densify these data centers, providing greater service. And when we look at immersion cooling, we're really looking at either single phase or two-phase cooling. I'll touch on those really briefly. As I'm still learning more about each and going down the rabbit hole on each one. But single-phase immersion cooling essentially is a cooling system that sees the server installed in a coolant bath of a circulating hydrocarbon dielectric fluid. Some of the advantages of a single-phase cooling, the system is much more efficient than air-cooled as it eliminates the needs for fans. This reduces energy consumption and lowers operational cost. Also leads to a lower carbon footprint too, which is another issue, which is another very large issue that new data centers and data center upgrades face. Additionally, the hydrocarbon fluid, acts as a fire suppressant, reduces the risk of fire at the data center. Two-phase cooling is slightly different. Two-phase immersion cooling, you might hear it referred to as evaporative cooling or flow boiling. I've heard it referred to as that, is a type of submerged server cooling. The liquid cooling technique, the coolant exists in a bath as a liquid or a gas in different stages. Two-phase is best suited for extreme heat loads in applications where space and performance are paramount. Goes back to the real estate issue again with data centers. High performance computing system, aerospace, electronics, these type of data centers that service these marketplaces, that's best suited for two-phase cooling. So what does this mean for materials? Considering that's what we do for a living here is materials. We know that the solutions for immersion cooling are going to look different than the traditional materials that have historically been used in your typical OFNR or OFNP cable constructions. We know today that the materials will need to withstand higher operating temps without compromising performance and reliability. We know that new cooling methods may require specific material properties for effective heat transfer. In the dielectric fluids used in both single phase and two phase, it presents opportunities and challenges in many ways. If you're now going to have cables living in a fully submerged environment, what does that mean for the performance? What does it mean as far as swelling of the material or cracking? Will the cable crack? Will the material absorb so much of the liquid that it'll crack and expose the core? Can't have that. Submerged cable, will something in the formulation leach out into the cooling material and run the risk of potentially damaging very expensive, sensitive electronic equipment? Again, we're looking at all these requirements now, and what does that mean for material solutions moving forward? We'll talk a little about this now as we move into these different slides. So what are some of the choices available to us? We spent a little time discussing some of the trends that we're seeing driving the market. Let's talk about a little bit about some of the materials that are available to us today and what's coming soon. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing a growing demand for halogen-free materials in fiber optic cable, really specifically geared towards data center. I know I had mentioned that anyways. What I did here is just put a little table together with a few of our workhorse materials in the fiber optic market space. As with any material requirement, we're always looking to balance what are the properties, right? How do we balance high degrees of flame retardancy and smoke suppression while still making a compound that's process friendly, that extrudes easily and readily on a cable, that makes a cable that's flexible, that it's a material that needs to have a low coefficient of friction when needed. And the one thing about fiber, it's truly a global market. So having materials that we can sell globally, whether it's in Asia or Europe, are critical to us. As I look on the list over here, I see a couple of our workhorses. The Halgard 58240 is really turning into a workhorse jacket. Nice mix of flexibility, flame retardancy, and low temperature properties. I look at the Halgard 58360 and 58380. These are turning into two workhorse materials for us in the jetted and blown fiber market space. Again, balancing high amounts of FR with the flex modulus and sufficient coefficient of friction to be able to be jetted in applications. 58625B, that carries our European Union CPR B2 CA rating, truly a global material. Manufacture this in North America and in Europe. Real workhorse for us. And then more recently, we've developed the 58662. And really what this was developed for was a subunit jacket, very thin wall, under 5 mils. Customer was looking for something that would process and hold at very, very thin walls, while also having a degree of flame retardancy and flexibility that is required for the application. So again, the development really never stops for us. We're always trying to balance the properties to see what the market needs. Some additional materials here. The first 3 materials on the list, we have a few of our plenum materials. The A48, the A62, and the A71. These materials are becoming more and more popular in regards in being seen as a PVDF or FEP replacement. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about a PVDF or FEP replacement in terms of flame and smoke performance on a cable, as far as attaining a UL certification and approval. They are not a direct replacement for a PVDF or an FEP when it comes in terms of temperature rating or chemical resistance. But these materials are quickly turning into workhorses for us, specifically in high density and high fiber count constructions, where you have much more tightly packed fibers, and smoke suppression and flame retardancy are a real key. These 3 have really turned into workhorses. We've also put up there a couple of our workhorse OFNR jacket materials, 65290, 65026, 65290. Both of these are indoor-outdoor, low shrink, riser. Beyond the HAL guards and the Apex and the fire guards, we also have a wide range of TPE products available and engineering thermoplastics for fiber optic cable connectors. Look, the message here is, we're a custom compounder. We'll work with you to tweak a material to fit your needs. Higher levels of FR, you want it, more flex modulus, less flex modulus, lower coefficient of frictions. Tell us what you're looking for. We'll make a tweak. And if we're unable to make a tweak, we'll develop. We'll just formulate something new for you. This is pretty much what we do every day, day in, day out. We see this as the value that we bring to the market. Moving on just a little bit into what's next and what is coming soon. So for us, one of the things that is actively being worked on are some engineering thermoplastic solutions for immersion cooling. As we mentioned earlier, we know the solutions there are not going to look like our standard typical solutions that we've seen in the fiber optic market space before. Now that cables are going to be living in a fully submerged environment, it's going to take a little bit of a rethink on materials, properties, and how to come up with that balance of whether it's flame retardancy, smoke suppression, processability, flexibility, now coupled with resistance to these fluids to not allow for swelling or cracking or leaching in the environment that they're living in. We'll also be coming out very shortly with a halogen-free flame retardant TPU. This is something we're really excited about. We feel that this will really help us round out our product offering, and we're very close on the halogen-free TPU. Looking forward to bringing that to market sometime in the next 12 months. And then the other thing, as far as coming soon, is really sustainable solutions. We talked about it, or I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the slide, that we're starting to get more and more requirements. And one of the things that we're learning is that sustainable solutions means different things to different people, and that there's really no one size fits all on sustainable solutions. Some people view sustainable solutions as low carbon. Some view it as bio-based content. Some view it as recycled content. From our end, we want to have a hand in all of it. If your customers are requesting this of you, if your companies have your own goals around sustainability and sustainable products, talk to us. we're working on a number of things, and we think we'll have a solution. So no matter how you look at sustainability, whether it's low carbon, whether it's bio-based, whether it's recycled content, we really think that we've got some interesting potential solutions coming, and we'd love to work with you on it. As I mentioned earlier, no presentation is complete without at least acknowledging the regulatory environment. At Teknor, we have a fully staffed regulatory department, and this really provides product stewardship for our compounds that we make. All of us on this call today know that global regulations are constantly changing, and it's really essential that we track what's new and that we ensure that we are always in compliance, which in turn means that you and your customers are always in compliance. Many of these regulations, we do call them out on our SDS sheets. It makes it really easy for our customers or the people in the market to find the information that they're looking for, and oftentimes can cut down on time spent and some unnecessary time in regulatory environment when some of this information is already spelled out on the SDS. On this slide here, obviously some of the chemical inventories from some different countries that we deal with day in and day out, whether it's US TSCA, EU REACH, we're all familiar with that, Canada, DSL, and then also we're all familiar with ROSE and SVHCs, heavy metals, conflict minerals. So again, I think it's important to acknowledge regulatory restrictions and convey to you that, we see what you see and are fully prepared to support you in whatever your regulatory requirements are. I think maybe we'll just move to wrap up here. So from a resource standpoint, I want to let you know that we have a number of resources available to our customers in the marketplace. We have a fully staffed analytical lab, and really the beauty of that is that the analytical lab offers us a capability to understand components of any compound. So if you're seeing something in the industry, if you're seeing something in your market space and you're not sure, hey, what is this material on this cable or what is being used here, we can help you with that. We also have our physical testing lab and our quality control labs. And these are here to really make sure that we're meeting the market requirements and delivering consistent products lot to lot. We really pride ourselves on the consistency of our materials lot to lot. And our physical testing lab and our quality control labs are there to make sure of that. We see ourselves as a trusted polymer partner to the industry. Part of the reason that we can say that is that we have a deep knowledge of wiring cable, the market and the applications. It's our original market. It's the very first market that we had gotten into. So we have 70 plus years of being in this market, and we have a very strong wiring cable team here at Teknor Apex with very diverse backgrounds. Not only do we have people with very diverse backgrounds, we have a very diverse product line from, vinyls to engineering thermoplastics to TPEs. We pride ourselves on having a solution. And if we don't, we can customize one, right? That is what other strength of Teknor, whether it's through our analytical lab, our R&D teams, we have the ability to customize a solution specifically for you and for your customers. We're a global supplier with local support. That's really something we pride ourselves on. I hope I've enhanced your knowledge a little bit on Teknor Apex capabilities, our understanding of the trends that are driving growth in the fiber optic market space, and our ability to support our customers with standard custom compounds for these applications. So if you're looking for some assistance on a new project, or if it's resolving challenges with an existing product, please contact us because we'd really like to work with you on this. We're only successful when you are successful, and we look forward to hearing from you and working with you. Thank you.
John, excellent presentation, and of course, very timely with the evolution of data centers, not only central data centers and mega data centers, but also at the edge. And there's an awful lot of stuff happening at the edge of the network to help us enable smart cities and smart communities, school. And so Very, very good information.
Exciting
You
time
know,
to be in the market, Dave. It's an exciting time to be in this market.
it's an evolution, and we've got the convergence of power and data, and again the whole evolution is about to take off. It's a really dynamic time. So thank you for presenting this information. A number of questions. For plenum applications on the copper side, typically, PDF is used
Mhm.
in, when you don't need the combination of data or data transmission properties as in optical fiber plenum cables. Can we use thermoplastic flame retardant grades, TPE
So
type materials?
for plenum, no. So for plenum, if you're not wanting to use a PVDF or an FEP, that would lead you to PVC plenum, right? We're all familiar with that. We have a number of solutions. I touched on three very briefly that are there for fiber, especially in high density and high fiber count constructions. But again, we have a very wide breadth of product lines available to us, from buffer materials to jacket materials. So yes, we do have solutions that if you wanted to move away from more expensive fluoropolymers or Kynars, we have some solutions that we'd be more than happy to discuss with you. Obviously, it'll all be application specific. What is it that you're looking to accomplish? Your cable design will play a huge role in this, but we'd be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Great. Can you also describe the compounds for smaller buffer tubes, resistance to gel, for example, inside the tubes, easy peeling or strippability, those kinds of
Yep.
things?
So from a buffer perspective, ironically, we do have a buffer material that you can strip with your fingers. It's a pinchable buffer. You can pinch it
Right.
and strip it. So we do have Apex PVC that is available for easy stripping, literally with your fingertips, to be able to strip it. But obviously, it's process worthy, will hold dimension, hold shape during the extrusion process. As far as resistance to water blocking and gel, the answer is yes, with the asterisk that we'll want to talk to you about what you're using for what that material is. We'll want to obviously know a little bit more about the gel, the chemical makeup of the gel, make sure that there is no negative interaction going on between the gel and the material, whether it's a Apex PVC or a plenum or even a Halgard material. We'll want to make sure that the gel and the materials are compatible and are not going to lead to any issues down the road. But we do have solutions.
Good. Any of your compound products available in film form, or are these predominantly and mostly in granular
So,
form?
so everything that I've discussed today is available in pellet. However, if you're looking at a different receiving this or considering it in a different format, would like to talk to you about that. Not ruling anything out. That's what I would say. So while we don't provide it in that format today, doesn't mean that we can't going forward. And be happy to have that discussion with whoever is asking that question. And as I said earlier, if we don't have it available today, talk to us. Doesn't mean we can't have it available for you going forward.
And again, for the audience, you will be receiving John's email address at the end of this conversation and question period. So stay tuned so you can reach out to John directly on some of these questions. What materials offer a refractive index less than 1.43 and low melt temperature? That seems like a very
Yeah,
specific application.
as I sit here today, as I sit
Yeah,
here right now, I cannot
yeah.
come up. obviously would have to look into our system, sit there, look at the formulations, and then be able to get back to you with that. But we will get back to it. I can't rattle that off the top of my head, but that is something that we can obviously find, and we can reply to that question and get you some information. And I would especially like to have a deeper conversation on around refractive. So yes, would be very interested in engaging there.
Yeah, and compounds are customized to try and meet certain attributes
Yes.
without jeopardizing other properties, but those are the kinds of
Yeah,
details.
it's always the balance of properties, right? As we were saying in the presentation, it's always what's that balance.
Yep. In some applications, low smoke, zero halogen cable come in contact with water. And the immersion coating helps the cable from degrading when in contact with water for some period of time. Do you have any feel for how long cables can be immersed in water before they start losing their mojo?
I have no specific rule of thumb. Obviously, the size of the cable, surface area of the cable will play a role in that. The smaller the cable, the smaller the surface area, likelihood of it lasting or not lasting compared to something that's much larger with a much larger surface area gives it more opportunity for water permeation. But as we talked about in the presentation, we're down the rabbit hole on cooling, whether it's water or immersion. And, we know more today than we knew yesterday, and we'll know more tomorrow than we know today. The market is ever evolving and ever changing, and we're trying to keep pace with it. But I can assure you that we are doing a deep dive on immersion, both from an existing material standpoint and what new materials need to be developed to meet whatever the requirements are. And we're working to get our arms around that right now. As I said, about a year ago, this wasn't even on our radar screen, and now all of a sudden it's front and center, and we are down that rabbit hole.
Right. And a practicality of this is conventional extrusion and process machinery that we use today. Can these newer materials be run on those existing lines, or other than tooling, will major changes be required?
No, our goal is always, when we say that part of what we factor into development of our products is how is this actually going to run for somebody on the equipment that they have. So it's very much our goal always to develop solutions and technologies that translate readily and easily to the marketplace with the extrusion equipment that they have. Obviously, tooling is an issue in and of itself, but as far as extruders, screw design, barrel length, L over D, screw type, yes, our goal is always to give you something that's process worthy on the equipment at your facility.
Right. This question, I guess, the person is not real familiar with jetting, but are there lubricants used when jetting cables, and how will these lubricants affect jacking materials like flame retardancy, cracking, leaching, those kinds of things?
So any kind of lubricant on the material will obviously, anything that's going to touch the surface of the cable could have a potentially negative impact on the material, of course. Not seeing any type of lubricants used in jetting. I really wish I had that video, but I was afraid to play the video there. But no, we've not seen any of that used. Doesn't mean it's not. It's just not been brought to our attention. Might be a better way to say it. However, designing the materials with a proper flex modulus and coefficient of friction really allows them to be used and successfully jetted in those applications. So we try to build that into our design of the compounds and materials. So you won't have to use a lubricant that could potentially have a negative impact on the material.
Yes. And in terms of, again, the balance and potential negative impacts, has any correlation been made on the type of flame retardant or the amount of flame retardant on transmission, whether it be data or electronic components?
So from a fiber standpoint, obviously the beautiful thing about about data and fiber transmission, the glass is the star of the show, right? The glass is clearly the star of the show. And the materials that we provide, whether it's from a buffer standpoint or whether it's from a jacket standpoint, are really there to lend a degree of protection to the glass and the overall construction, right? It's a protective layer, and to be able to pass whatever third-party certifications are required, whether it's CSA or UL or IEC, really. So our developments are really geared around what are the requirements, how's the cable going to be marked. But as far as data transmission and things like that, specifically in fiber, the glass is the star of the show.
Yeah. For the newer and latest technologies for non-halogen TPUs, will those grades be available in various finishes like matte finish
Yes.
and other things?
Yes, they will. That is absolutely part of the development cycle. Always a bit of a challenge with the TPU to be able to get that finish just right. It is part of our design. It's part of our build. And as I said, we're really excited about where this development is going, and we're hoping to bring this into the market sometime over the next year to year and a half. We're really excited about this. Nice addition to our product line.
Yeah, I guess there's some basic attributes of TPU that people
Yeah.
know and love and are familiar with.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, that's the evolution, whether it be halogen free or any other material for that matter.
Sure.
Is there a common grade of fluid used for immersion cooling?
Well, so two different kinds of fluid, single phase, two phase. I wouldn't say that there's just one. There's any number of, right? There's any number of types of hydrocarbons. That information is easily accessible on a very simple Google search. But from what we've seen, there's no one that's just using one, right? It's just, hey, what's available, who sells it, what's local to me. So no, I wouldn't say that there's just one. There's multiple fluid solutions, but it's really, single stage is your hydrocarbon, and the two stages really, for lack of a better term, it's fluorocarbon.
Yeah. And to everyone, we really appreciate all of your really, really good questions and interaction with John. There's been a suggestion, John, and there's one more question, but there is a suggestion that perhaps as we wrap up, you want to try to do your video, and then if it crashes, so be it. But
no, I left the video out altogether. So if you want to see the video, just send me the email.
Reach out.
Dave, I have no doubt that it's greater than 50-50 odds that I will fumble this and the whole thing will crash.
Fair enough. No worries. But again, to everyone in the audience, you'll have John's email and shortly. So the last question, specifically for HalGuard 58625B.
Yes.
You state the capability in the construction products regulation in Europe for a B2
CA. Yes.
CA application for fiber.
Yes.
Do you happen to have any more details on the construction of that cable that it's compatible with, and is this for 5 millimeters?
I do, but I won't share that in this format. If you wanted to, typically people that we work with, and if we worked with you, we wouldn't share any details about anything that you're doing, the constructions that you're working on. We wouldn't share that to make it public. But if you wanted to reach out to me, we can talk through what it is that you have in mind. And, we can look at your construction specifically, and we can give you, thumbs up, thumbs down on whether or not we think that this has a realistic chance of achieving B2CA rating. But, we wouldn't share any type of construction that we deal with anyone else, in much like we wouldn't share anything if we work with you.
Sure. No, that's excellent. And again, on behalf of our entire audience, we really appreciate the time and the perspectives that you have, John, and certainly all the questions that you answered were were very well presented, and we thank you, for presenting this important topic today. Please note that John's contact points are being shown if you wish to contact John or to see the infamous video. And each of these IWCS webinar series presentation events are recorded, as I mentioned, and will be archived on our website in case you want to go back and take a look at it again or share it with your colleagues. It normally takes about a week or so to have it up and running. The IWCS webinar series will conduct technical paper presentation webinars and also sponsored company events several times each month. Our next scheduled technical paper presentation webinar will be on Friday, March 15th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern USA time. So each of you will be receiving an announcement for this event. So please feel free to share these announcements with your colleagues so that they can join and register as well as yourself. It's important that we all recognize the contributions, the great contributions of our IWCS partner sponsors who contribute to the success of our Cable and Connectivity Industry Forum. Without their strong leadership and generosity financially, we would not be able to bring these important innovations and information to you and our global audience. So again, we thank these leading suppliers in our industry for their support, and that includes, of course, Teknor Apex. So again, we recognize their leadership. And I do want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to present your fine work and the information you have that's leading the charge in this innovative world at the IWCS Cable and Connectivity Forum in October in Providence, Rhode Island. October 14th to the 17th, you have an opportunity to exhibit, obviously to present as well, and of course attend and meet your colleagues from all around the world and talk about these amazing innovations taking place. And to present, of course, we hope that you and your company will consider posting an easy one-page abstract onto our website. The deadline is rapidly approaching, actually, the early part of April, so that we can generate our program and promote the papers and the technical sessions early into the summer months. So please take a look at our website and find out how pretty easy it is to submit your abstract. So again, thank you for your participation today, and look forward to having you with us at a future IWCS event. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Yep, thanks.